Welcome back to the Soul Train. My name is Jonathan Solen, and this is episode 3. My dad's mom, my grandmother, Martha Elizabeth Nevins. I do have fond memories of my grandmother, Betty Solen. Her peanut brittle, her laugh, her sayings, "Oh, Shaw," she would say, "land to Goshen," she would say. Her tutoring me how to speak properly, how to enunciate, which was very important to her. So let's take a look at the life of Martha Elizabeth Nevins. Well, the first thing we're going to do is place my grandmother in context with her family. So let's take a look at this photo here. It's a collage, and I don't know, I have not seen a family portrait with all 8, with mom, dad, and the 3 children. Sorry, 6 children. So Betty was the youngest, and then Irma Jean was older. She had 3 older brothers, Art, Ralph, and Clarence, and then Eulalia was the oldest of the children. And this is a remarkable family, frontier settlers, and there's a lot to tell about this family. But I just want you to know that my grandmother was the youngest. She was the baby, and she was a young lady of surprises. And so let's talk about some of these surprises. My grandmother was born Maud Elizabeth Nevins on July 19th, 1904. She did not like the name Maud. And so when she was 8 years old at the time of her baptism, when asked what her name was, she replied, Martha Elizabeth Nevins. And so she changed her name quite to the surprise of everyone, but that gives you an idea of her independent and determined streak. She would later be known as Betty. So let's take a look at this photo collage that I got from Uncle Bob in the binder that he passed down. And we'll take a look at each one of these pictures that include Betty Nevins. Here she's on a sidewalk, just taking a picture, probably 12, 13 per Uncle Bob. It's difficult to see, but in this picture, there's snow, 2 foot of snow outside of the house in Dodge City. And let's zoom again in on this photo of the 3 sisters and sister-in-law. This group photo was taken in early November 1923 on the occasion of their mother's funeral, Mattie Griffith Nevins. And so on the left is Eulalia, and then Aunt Irma, and then Ethel, who is Ralph's wife, and then my grandmother, Betty. Betty was at Baker University, where her brothers also attended. It was the family tradition. And while at Baker, she received a telegram, "Come home immediately, mother needs you." As my dad tells the story, as a young woman, Betty Nevins wanted to be a missionary. She wanted to lead a courageous life, teaching and leading. While at Baker, she met Harold Solon, and she realized that maybe being the wife of a minister in the United Methodist Church would allow her to be a leader in the church, in communities in the state of Kansas. And indeed, beyond Kansas to the national level. As my dad writes in his book, she held the 3rd highest national office in the 1.5 million member Women's Society of Christian Service, which would become the United Methodist Women from 1956 to 1960. And so in 1964, it was indeed a shock and a loss when my grandfather passed away. I'll read from the detailed biography of my grandmother and this note from my Uncle Bob. After Dad passed away in 1964, although he had been a pastor for 38 years, there was very little retirement benefits for Mother. She had to find a job, move out of the district superintendent's home in Bethel, Kansas, and begin to prepare herself for employment. But this is Betty Solon we're talking about, a strong and talented leader. So after a year or so at St. Paul Seminary, she found a home at Baker University as alumni director, where she had attended college so many years before. Let's be clear, Betty Solon had zero interest in remarrying and, as she would say, having to take care of somebody else. Instead, she would delight in her children and grandchildren and travel. Here are some photos from 1977 when our family traveled to Europe and lived in Germany for a year. She came out to visit and enjoyed sightseeing with us. Only a few years later, she would be overjoyed when Kathy made the decision to go to college at Baker University in Baldwin. And so Kathy went out to live in Baldwin and be part of grandmother's life. I'd like to close with this letter from my Uncle Bob, an exchange between him and my grandmother in 1972. I think Uncle Bob asked grandmother to recount some of the early years, and she did in this beautiful letter, which I will store and keep on the file for you to download. It's hilarious because at the end of the letter E snaps off the typewriter, and the last couple of sentences are written without a letter E, but she closes with this handwritten note. Age 70 and a half. I have enjoyed these reminiscences. Golden age? ? If you have golden memories, these are my greatest blessings. In November 1986, Kathy went to visit grandmother, and it was clear she was not feeling well. She was able to get her to the emergency room. After just a few days, surrounded by her children, she passed away peacefully. Martha Elizabeth Nevins, Betty Solon, a life well lived.
Away down yonder in the state of Arkansas, where my great-grandpa met my great-grandma, they drink